Canada's parliament has declared China's treatment of Uyghurs genocide. Now, this is what former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo moved toward right as the Trump administration was leaving office. Well, Canada's House of Commons passed the motion 266 to 0. And lawmakers even passed an amendment requesting Canada to push for a new 2022 Olympics location, which is scheduled to be in Beijing. Now, the Prime Minister, not so happy about being put on the spot, but does this put President Biden and his administration on the spot? Joining me now to talk about it, Gordon G. Chang, author of The Coming Collapse of China, as well as The Great U.S.-China Tech War. You can follow Gordon at Gordon G. Chang on Twitter, at Gordon G. Chang. Gordon G. Chang, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Well, thank you so much, Tony Perkins. I really appreciate it.
Well, let's talk about this. Does this put Trudeau in a box in Canada?
Oh, it certainly did, because you had Trudeau not show up in Parliament. Matter of fact, he just sent his foreign secretary to say that the government was abstaining. But across the political spectrum in Canada, and this included not only the opposition Conservatives, but also Trudeau's own Liberals, they went overwhelmingly for this. And so essentially what you have right now is Canada saying, yes, this is genocide. Yes, we should move the Beijing Olympics, which are going to schedule to start in a year. And indeed, that does put Biden on the spot, as you suggested.
So how might the Biden administration respond to this? You know, he was asked in his first town hall meeting about China, and it was a very muddled response. I still have not been able to decipher it. So what might we see from the Biden administration?
Well, so far, the Biden administration has said that they are not in favor of a boycott of the Beijing Olympics. But there's a lot of pressure that is building up, and it's not just, it's not just in the United States and Canada, it's also around the world. And the reason is because China is obviously committing crimes against humanity, including genocide. And this, of course, is abhorrent.
Well, with this BBC report that has come out, I mean, it is hard to fathom how any nation, any country of civilized human beings could stand by and allow their country to give credibility to China by participating in the Olympics.
Yes, that BBC report you talked about discusses institutionalized rape. This is not just scattered rapes of Uyghur women by Chinese officials. This is obviously done on a long-term, institutional, officially sanctioned basis. And it's not just rape of women that we're talking about. It's also the abuse of minor Uyghur girls. There's institutionalized slavery, genocide, as we discussed, imprisoning children. You just name it. There are Uyghurs dying in those detention camps. There's been more than 1 million Uyghurs who have been detained, probably somewhere on the order of 3 million. We know that the Chinese are killing people in those camps because they're building crematoria. And although there are not mass exterminations, which is the one distinguishing feature between the People's Republic of China and the Third Reich of Germany, China is moving in that direction.
Well, but there are the reports that came out a couple of years ago about the harvesting of body parts. Yes, and there's the tribunal in London by Jeffrey Nice, which documented this. And this is one in a series of reports that show that there's been organ harvesting of Uyghurs, Kazakhs, and other minorities. You put all this together, these crimes are actually worse than those committed by the Third Reich prior to the mass exterminations that began in 1941. So we're talking about a nation which is involved in the worst atrocities that we have seen as a world for about 70, 80 years. And we can't deny it. The evidence is out there, and you have Fortune 500 companies that continue to do business with China, benefiting in some cases from slave labor somewhere in the supply chain. You have an administration that is refusing to acknowledge and take decisive action. I believe if nothing happens, if we continue down this path, there will be those
that will regret that. I can't say that because apparently they have no conscience. When you consider what is happening to these people, these are moms, these are sisters, these are brothers, these are human beings that are being systematically abused by a government, and we're standing by doing nothing.
Yes, and just to pick up on one of your points, we have a company called Nike that lectures the American people about racism, but which actually had its shoes manufactured in conditions that really were slave labor, not just forced labor, Tony. This was slave labor. This went on for decades. Nike obviously knew about it, although they've denied it. Clearly, this is hypocrisy at a level that we've never seen. And we have a number of athletes in the NBA who are connected to Nike who have been lecturing us about all sorts of things. This is just horrific.
Yeah, the hypocrisy is so bad, but they don't even blush. They just continue with their lecturing us about social justice. Gordon G. Chang, as always, great to talk with you. Thanks so much for joining us today.